Gillian Keegan.
Very good.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. It's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Gentleman for Ealing North, who gave a wonderful and powerful speech, and I think we all would agree with every word he said. And it's also a pleasure to participate in this debate and to support the bill put forward by the Right Honourable Member for Chipping Barnett, who really does so much to speak up for the Jewish community. And as she says, it's particularly poignant to be discussing this, given it was less than 2 weeks ago that we were here marking Holocaust Memorial Day. In my contribution to the Holocaust Memorial Day debate last month, I raised the story of Simon Gronowski. He survived the Holocaust and managed to escape the gas chambers of Auschwitz after being thrown by his mother from a moving transportation train in 1943. And I had the honour of welcoming him to Parliament last week, where community groups from Chichester staged an opera that was based on his life story. But Simon lost his mother and his sister, both of whom died in the gas chamber. And he also lost his home and his possessions, and he lived out the rest of the war in hiding, being cared for by another family. And whilst Simon's story is unique, it is unique as it is also inspirational after he forgave the collaborator that put him on the train. But his experience of discrimination and loss is very common. And the 1930s and 40s were marked by Jewish people and minority groups having their property stolen and precious objects confiscated. And many countries occupied by the Nazis, special departments were set up to organise the stealing of Jewish property and items of value. Money, houses, jewellery and works of art were the most common items stolen. And as recently as 2012, the state prosecutor in Augsburg in Germany discovered and confiscated over 1,400 framed and unframed paintings stolen by one of the Nazis' war profiteers, Hermann Gurlitt. It is estimated around 100,000 items remain unrepatriated, with their original owners or families looted by the Nazis between 1933 and 1945. And in my view, and I'm sure I'll be joined by every member who participates in this debate, there should be no time limit to try and right the wrongs of the past by returning the lost possessions to the families affected by these atrocious crimes. By scrapping the original expiry date, like Clause 1 intends, we will be following the precedent of most other European countries, like France and Germany, who do not have time limits on survivors and their heirs making claims. It is absolutely right that Parliament in 2009 enacted legislation to allow our museums to return items looted during the Nazi era, and thanks to the word of the Spoliation Advisory Panel, 23 works of art have been successfully returned since it was set up in 2000. I believe we have a moral duty to ensure any other items held by our museums and galleries that were stolen in such awful circumstances are returned to their rightful owners. And it has also been argued before, many may simply be unaware that they are in possession of such pieces. Whilst not many objects have been discovered in Britain, we shouldn't treat that as a reason to shut the door on heirs and families making claims in the future. After all, these objects were cruelly and illegally stolen from victims who were often left with nothing. That's why I'm pleased to hear the Government has given its full support to scrapping the so-called sunset clause of the 2009 Act. And as I've said, there should be no time limit in our attempts to right the wrongs of the past. We cannot undo, as the Honourable Gentleman from Ealing North said, the insidious crimes inflicted by the Nazis, but we can make sure survivors and heirs have their rightful property returned to them. This is a moral duty as much as any other. In 1998, 44 states committed themselves to the Washington Principles. These principles sought to make sure possessions ransacked by the Nazis were returned to their rightful owners and families. If we do not amend the 2009 Act to remove the sunset clause, we will do ourselves a great disservice in upholding our international and moral agreements, and this is why I give my full support to this bill.